And welcome back, folks. Now, in further examining these systems of control that have been put in place and the way human consciousness has been manipulated, we can see all of the things that I talked about in the first half of the show. These are simply basic and simple truths. Again, folks, if you step back and actually look at how the world is run, this is what you see. It's just obvious, really, when you actually step back and look at it. But another one of the systems of control that's put in place is something that I mentioned, I think it might have been last week or the week before, and that is the exaltation of youth. How the youth is exalted within our society, while at the same time the youth is actually taught to burn themselves out as quickly as possible. It's all about partying. It's all about the exaltation of youth, but you need to destroy yourself while you're a youth. So when you start getting a few wrinkles and you get past the stage where you measure up to the yardsticks that society has provided for you to measure yourselves up to, you are kind of discarded and you walk away feeling dejected. So this disempowers the entire social structure straight away. The methods that are used to exalt the youth and the methods that the youth are told they need to employ in order to be successful and to be liked and to be acceptable, and what they need to do with their spare time. So we end up with a very distracted, very adolescent society, and a society that's perpetually caught up in the wheels of debt. And they will continue to run faster and faster on the treadmill until they are eventually discarded. It's run very much like a production line, and it's also run very much like a system of circuitry, like an electrical circuit. In fact, when you understand how an electrical circuit flows, and you understand the properties of electricity, you can see how society functions, and you can see how the social system and the control of human consciousness functions. In fact, there's a paper that I recommend you get that you can find online called Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. It was reputedly found in a photocopy machine that was purchased at a surplus store, and it's apparently a CIA document. There's no way of confirming this, but it does contain some very, very interesting information. And if you read this document, you may get an understanding of how the systems of control have been put in place and how they function. And if you do a search online for that paper, you will find a PDF of it available online. And again, its title is Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. You see, some of the most esoteric knowledge, some of the most occult knowledge, occult meaning hidden, is that which is hidden right before your eyes. And when you begin to understand how this system functions and how energy flows through the system, it can give you a whole new understanding of how to deal with reality. Because ultimately it's all about energy, and ultimately it always comes back to the empowerment of the individual. It comes back to people knowing who and what they are. That's why I spend so much time on that. I've done literally hundreds and hundreds of shows where I've spoken about energy, and I've spoken about people finding themselves and stepping into that and standing in their flesh, knowing where they sit in the food chain, knowing what the system is. I've said it so many different ways I don't even know how to say it anymore. And I've done this because that's the solution. That's the solution to it all. And that's why I've kept coming back to it. But people have to begin to see how the system works by opening their minds to the system. And in order to do this, they have to open their minds to themselves, of course, because that's where all the answers lie. That's why people have to know what they are, because it's by even questioning who and what they are that begins to make them want to even question the system within which they live. Most people just accept the system for what it is because they're so busy running around in the world of commerce that they aren't given any choice. It's all about commerce. It's all about measuring up to the yardsticks that society gives us. So you've got to do this. You've got to live in this type of neighborhood, and you've got to have this type of house and this many children and this many cars, and the children have to do this and they have to do that, and they have to have these lessons and those lessons and go to college and become good little drones so they can measure up to the yardsticks that society provides for them. And it's this endless treadmill of consumption and consumerism and economic-based reality, commerce-based reality. And that's where the problem lies. Mankind has lost its direction, or it's been steered into a direction of commerce, and that is what has caused all of the problems, as I was saying in the first section of the show. So we've got to step back and begin to change our perspective of who and what we are. And that's what it all comes down to, folks. That's why you have to know how this system operates, so that you can know who and what you are, so that you can find yourself. And by finding yourself, the simple act of finding yourself is all you really need to step away from the system. And I'm not saying go and become a hermit. All I'm doing is stand in your power. Question authority, but do it in the right way. Do it out of respect. Do it in a way that empowers humanity, because when you do question authority, you need to be leading by example. And you don't want to be setting an example of violence. You want to be setting an example of self-empowerment, an example of confidence, an example of knowing who and what you are, and of serving creation to do the best and create the best reality that you possibly can in all that you do. And even for those people out there who are attempting to deliver information to people, burning CDs, handing out flyers, doing all the stuff that we need to do to get the message out to people, the first and foremost thing that anybody needs to do is to lead by example in all that they do, and to provide a better way for people. Because people are much more open to information that they discover for themselves. And if you're an upstanding pillar of your community, if you are improving reality by your presence in it, if you are being a staunch support to your neighbours and a staunch support to everybody and treating everybody as your equal, people eventually want to know what made you like that, what made you the strong, upstanding, real person that you are. And then they want to know the information that you know. They want to know how to have that understanding of reality. Because with that understanding comes empowerment. And they want that. People want to be empowered. And so that's why you have to lead by example. It's more important for you to be the change that you wish to see in the world than it is to hand out any information to anybody. I hand out information to people because I can. I'm in a position where I can. I have friends in town who have a shop. They have DVDs there that they give out to people who come to the shop to eat. I've got people and friends in town who always come and collect DVDs off me to hand out to all their friends. There's a strong community here that does this, that we've all helped to build. But ultimately, the most important thing anybody can do is to accept themselves for what they are, and to be proud of who and what they are, and to lead by example in every action that they take, and to be aware of every action that they take, to live every moment as if it were a valuable moment. I mean, sure, we are facing some enormous difficulties to overcome. We have some enormous problems with our whole social and government system. We have enormous amount of problems with the future that's being created for us. And there are a great many people that will succumb to that future. And there are a lot of people who will not make it through what is to come. But I believe that this is simply how consciousness evolves, and I believe that all is as it should be. The people who are supposed to wake up will wake up, and I believe that we will go through and create the future that we wish to have. It's just that unfortunately it may have to get a little worse yet. And we're certainly seeing that this year, folks. There is an exceptional amount of lockdowns happening this year, and even with the introduction of things like carbon tax here in Australia. And folks, when you understand how this is a system of commerce that's been imposed upon the people, and that it's the fact that a dollar value has been applied to virtually everything, even to the atmosphere, then you begin to see what a mistake this commercial system is, and how such a thing as a carbon tax will serve no other purpose than to further lock down human consciousness, further enslave society onto the treadmill of debt, and further impose the commercial system upon the consciousness of the people. And once it's seen to be a success here in Australia, then they will extrapolate it out across the rest of the world. And folks, it's all about control. Carbon tax, all of the taxes, all of the things that they claim they are doing to protect the environment, these things are not being done to protect the environment. It's all about control. And all you need to do to verify this fact is take one step back and consider how commerce has been superimposed over the human experience. Because when you understand all the stuff that I talked about in the first half of the show, when you understand how this economic value has been placed over human value, then you begin to see what the problem is. And so, of course, you begin to see what the solution is. Now, the solution is to be aware of the system, but the solution is also to know what gives the system its power, and that is us. That's why it always comes back to this. I mean, I could go along and I could tell you all the news about what's happening in the world, folks, but ultimately it's all corporate consolidation. That's what it all is. All the wars in all these countries, these are all hostile takeovers of other countries. That's all they are. The whole system is a system of commerce. That's the problem. All the rest of it is simply the symptoms of this one system. All of it. It's all about commerce. The whole world functions and continues to function in this dysfunctional manner solely due to the imposition of commerce over the human experience. That's it. And the situation continues because people don't know who and what they are. People don't understand the power that they inherently hold. That's why I've done so many shows where I've talked about this. And I've done years of research, folks. I've done 30 years of research. And it's always come back to this same thing. Because ultimately that's the highest octave that you come to. The highest octave that you come to is discovery of yourself. And then you become aware of the crucial need for the people around you to discover themselves. And that is the real issue. It isn't giving information out to them, it's helping them discover themselves, helping them realize who and what they are. That's what is needed, because that's everything that this system has taken away from people. As I said earlier, through the eradication of real history from people's consciousness. People don't understand what they're capable of because they don't really look around them and see what this planet once was and what they were capable of doing. It's always attributed to aliens or gods or somebody else that came and did it. It's never attributed to humankind because we don't believe we are capable of such things. And this is simply because we're told we're not capable of such things. We're given such restricted parameters of science and such restricted parameters of history that we really don't believe we're very powerful at all. We don't understand what we are capable of. And they work very diligently to achieve this level of non-knowledge within the human experience, folks, because if people ever really understood the level of power that they hold, they could never be controlled as easily as they currently are. But again, folks, the way to really free people from this control is to demonstrate to them that you are free by being all that you can be and leading by example in all that you do. And it would appear that the way things are moving in the world, folks, then many of us are going to have plenty of opportunities to do so, because the net really does seem to be closing this year. And there are many things that are being done to set examples for people and to convince people never to think outside of the box or never to take action against the system. Things such as what's going on with Bradley Manning, Julian Assange, the whole lot. All of these actions are designed to cause people to think twice before they speak out, because they are in fear of what the authorities may do to them should they speak out. But by the same token, there are a lot of other people that are choosing to ignore that and who are choosing to speak out. And there are many people who are continuing to set good examples for our society. And it's all part of the process, really, isn't it? Because, as I've so often said, folks, there will be a lot of people who do not make it through. But there will be other people who do. And what is important is the state of the overall consciousness that does make it through.